Welcome back to TYGR's Garage. Happy almost Halloween. Stink bug's ready. We're back on Stink Bug today, and we're gonna do a couple kind of quality of life style improvements, upgrades. The first one being we have a very leaky valve cover gasket. I have a new one. We're gonna go ahead, take that off, see how it looks under there. I'm really curious to see, and replace that. While we're there, we're gonna try to determine if this is a solid or a hydraulic lifter motor and maybe run the valves, even though it runs pretty good, so I don't imagine they're too far out of spec. And then if we feel really, really motivated, I do have a new exhaust and intake manifold gasket because we've got this brutal exhaust leak back here. I don't know if you remember. Now, you're probably thinking, why are you doing all this? Your plan is to chassis swap. You don't even care about this motor. And that used to be true. But to be honest with you, I might be having a little bit of a change of heart. Not about Stink Bug, not about the idea. I can't decide if it's worth doing the frame swap or not for a couple reasons. One is it's a huge amount of work. Not afraid of that, but this thing will be down for a long time. Every system would need to be rebuilt. Two is this frame, although surface rusty, isn't that bad. The worst rust is the cab, which we're gonna have to fix either way. And when I sit and really think about what I want Stink Bug to be, all I want is a scruffy old truck that sits way down in the weeds, looks cool, gets looks, that I can drive on the highway to and from work, whatever, on nice days. Even on not nice days. I'd like to get the wipers working first. So that's where I'm at. I'm not saying we're not going to. I still have the frame from White Trash. But I think instead of pulling that frame in here and getting it ready, I'm gonna focus on this, on what we have for right now. Do some of this little stuff, hood hinges, fix the leaks, yada yada, make it, actually do a tune-up, make it run right. Do some rust repair in the cab, kind of get the doors fitting, stuff like that. Get it solid on this frame, and then try to decide where to go from there. Couple problems with keeping this frame. The 456 gears are a problem, but a rear end swap is so much easier than a frame swap. It's not even funny. I could fix that. The other problem is I want this truck to sit low, down and dirty low. That's really hard to do with a beam front axle. Now I could get a drop axle, some lowering leaves, maybe put a notch in the front and get it down. It would be static, but I would really like it to be on air. That was kind of my idea from the start. Either frame, I'd like it to be on air. Hard to do air with a beam axle. So do we yank this motor out, Mustang to it on air? Do we forget about air ride and just static drop it 4 or 5 inches? Let it scrape on anything? It's not like it's gonna hurt it. So I reserve the right to change my mind as many times as I want, but let me know what you think. What would you do? Would you blow it apart, put it on the other frame, LS, T56, all of that? Or would you kind of keep it, original is a strong word, but would you keep it like this? Use this frame, get it down in the weeds the old-fashioned way, and just drive it the way it is. Maybe try to find a 14 bolt or something where we could put a 373 in the back. Even a 410 would be an improvement. Or T5 swap. T5s are $200. I gotta buy a clutch and stuff. So if I'm rambling, it's because I don't really know which direction I want to go. But I do know that I got some parts to fix some things that are an issue with this Stovebolt, and I think that's where we're gonna start. One of the things I do have, I mentioned earlier, is new hood hinges for this, which would be awesome to actually have the hood stay up on its own and not be always this close to crushing me. So I already went ahead and pulled the one remaining bolt. It actually broke. Pulled the hood off, so I'm going to take these hinge plates off the rest of the way and just kind of finish that thought. And then when this goes back together, we'll put the new hinges in. We got to do a little metal work on the hood. Bolts are broken off in there. It's going to be a weld, a nut to it, and try to extract sort of deal. But I do want to get these hinge plates off, and there may be some broken boltage here too that we're going to need to get the TIG welder out to fix. So this one comes out from the outside, and then these two actually bolt from the inside. So we'll do the outside first and then crawl underneath and see if I can't get these freed up. I'm able to get to the back side of the threads, so I soaked them in penetrating oil, and I'm hoping they come out. Starting on the bottom. Oh, maybe I can even see it. Oh, it's turning. Picked up some pine needles in there. What do you want to bet? There's more than a couple dead stink bugs. Oh, I hope you didn't bet too much. There's some. Same story on this side. Not really in that bad a shape. You could even see the factory color. See how, like, here, let me grab a light. But this blue used to be a really pretty color. And I think it's been resprayed, also blue, and then quite faded, but this dark blue is cool. Kind of wish more of it was still hanging around. All right, so let's actually get into the meat of what we're trying to accomplish today, which is valve cover gasket and potentially manifold gaskets, potentially run the valves. It's a lot of potentialities. And I actually have a new set of plugs for it, which it's probably time to do that. So that's where we're gonna start. I think we're gonna get all these plugs out. I'm gonna keep them, and I'm gonna keep them in order. Yeah, this thing's rich, which isn't that surprising, and I don't know if you can even make a good determination on how old these plugs are. They also look like they're gapped at about 100 thousandths. It's a little racy for this thing, but it's all right. These are labeled. I'll pull them off. I wish I had a set of plug wires. That is one thing I don't have. If we do keep this combination, I think we're probably going to end up putting an HEI in it. This motor, as silly as it sounds to say, runs pretty good. We know it's not the factory motor. In fact, the way to like idle at 450 RPM, I can't imagine. It doesn't seem worn out. It doesn't really smoke. It might be kind of a low hour unit. It just happens to be pig rich. Whoops. Get the valve cover off. Oh, wow. Could have been leaking because that was very not tight. So these motors are nicknamed a Stovebolt, and that is due to the fasteners that hold the valve cover on. I don't know for sure, but they say they look like the bolts that used to hold wood stoves together. There's only 4 that hold this whole thing on there too. The other fun part about this investigation is anything we find can change our mind about what I talked about earlier. If this looks like a bomb went off in here, then if we have to do an engine swap anyway, it's not going to be another straight 6, I can assure you. I've heard these can be pretty stuck in place after 75 years and that you don't want to bang on them. They're pretty thin and you can bend them. Oh, ours is not stuck at all. Ours is going to come right off. There we go. Is the gasket even going to come off in one piece? No way. It is. Here we are, the inner workings of the Chevy 6. Shaft rocker, obviously, push rods. The lifters are buried down in here under this cover, which we are not taking off today. What is going on? Is it every exhaust valve has this like crazy long stem? And that's on purpose? It must be. I don't even know if it's exhaust or intake, to be honest. All right, so let me get you in here and show you what I was a little bit confused about. See this extra long valve stem? Every intake valve has that, which is how it's supposed to be, but it's interesting. I've never seen one come up out like that. Doesn't mean they're not common, just means I've never seen one. Okay, so part of my problem is I am not 100% sure if this motor has solid or hydraulic lifters. Now, normally it should have solids. It did in 1950, everything did, I think. We know this motor is not a 50. It's like a 58 to 62. We don't know what it came out of. That late, cars and anything with a power glide, an automatic, had hydraulic lifters, I believe. The 4-speeds still had solids. This is obviously a 4-speed, but who knows? I don't know what this motor came out of. I feel a little bit of lash on almost everything right now. So I'm gonna, with the valve cover off, roll it around and confirm we're at TDC on number 1, and then just check some lash. We know the firing order, right? 153624, you know the joke, I'm not gonna say it. I feel like some of them are probably loose, and since we have the cover off, I'd like to make that better, but I don't wanna set them too tight. Obviously, yes, you're supposed to set this hot. Also, this thing is stone cold. We're not gonna warm it up just for this. I just kind of want to see where we're at. So the spec for these, the extreme duty spec is 20 thou on the exhaust, 10 on the intake, hot. We're cold. We're going to use that spec and we're going to add 1 to each of it. So we're going to go 21 and 11. This is an exhaust valve. It is at 21, so I'm going to leave it. This is an intake valve. We'll check with our 11, and it's a little bit tight, so we're going to make an adjustment here. These are both on the base circle. The valves are all the way closed, and we're just going to work our way down. I know there's like a system for this, but with the valve cover off, it's easy to see when they're on the base circle. We're going to run through this, then we'll clean up our mating surface, and we'll stick that valve cover on. First sign of weirdness, back here, number 5, this is the intake valve, and it is loose. It's like double what the last should be. So the others, we've just made very minor adjustments. This one's going to be a bit larger. Now that we got the valves adjusted, no major surprises, except for number 5 intake was like 3 times as loose as it should have been. So I'm excited to see if that has some sort of positive benefit. It can't hurt. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to just take and I'm going to clean up, without getting fluff in there, I'm going to clean up the surface for the gasket. This head, I've been noticing, is like there's no real rail that the valve cover sits on. So the gasket, especially on this side, which is the side it was leaking on, is the only thing that's going to seal it. It's not like it's a deep casting where the oil can pool. I mean, there's maybe 1/8, 1/16 of wall. So I want to clean it up good. We'll probably do a thin coat of RTV on both sides. And I still want to make sure we actually have the right gasket. I think we do. I ordered one for a 235. I know the early 216s had bolts, like just 2, I think, that came down from the top. This obviously has 4 around the perimeter. I've pulled a couple pieces of pretty significant chunks of sludge out, but otherwise, it doesn't look that bad in here. I mean, it's not brand new by any means, but you gotta remember, it sat in a field, not running for a long time, and we didn't even pull this cover. We just fired the thing up. We did change the oil. All right, we got our gasket glued on to our cover here. We are going to carefully try to put it in place without knocking anything off. All right, valves adjusted, small oil leak, hopefully addressed. Feel good about that, especially since we found one that was way crazy. I don't think I need to turn it over anymore, so we'll probably grab the new set of plugs next. Now, I ordered all these from Rock Auto a long time ago. I didn't realize they were Ford brand Motorcraft. I screwed one in, they fit. I don't think it matters that much. Book says gap them at 35, so we're gonna check all these. All those gap out at 35. Let me see. Yeah, this is the number 1. It's up at 40. Which isn't crazy. But we'll set these at 35, a little bit of anti-seize, spin them in there. Then we gotta put the distributor cap back on, plug wires, that sort of thing, and then we'll be done with that side, and we'll probably move over to manifolds. Come through and just snug them down. Should be number 1, right? Yeah. 1. That looks kind of like a 2. All right. Here's the part I've really been dreading, and I've even said out loud on a couple videos that I would never do. We're about to do it, and it's take these manifolds off. Now, I'm not afraid of it being hard or anything like that, heavy, which I think it definitely will be. I'm afraid of breaking these bolts. So, but we also have just the most insano exhaust leak back here, number 6, which I would really like to fix. So I think we're gonna start by making some room. More than that. We're gonna start by making some room, get the carb off, fuel, vacuum disconnected, cable, throttle linkage, all that's got to come off. And then we're going to slowly start to try to loosen these bolts. But what I have to replace it is one of these. Now this should look familiar. This is the same style gasket that we put in the Roadrunner, the Remflex 100% graphite, super wicked awesome gasket. Because if I'm doing this, I only want to do it once. So this should conform to the 75 years of pitting and grossness that I'm sure these manifolds and mating surface have. And it should seal up tight and not require a retort. Now these Stovebolts are interesting because the exhaust and the intake manifold are on the same side and all the ports are in a row. So this smaller one that the carb's bolted to is obviously the intake. It's the round ones. There's only 3 ports. There's also 1, 2, 3, 4 exhaust ports. The center are bigger than the outside. And it all gets held together. It hangs on 2 dowel pins, and there's these little like claws that kind of engage little stands on the manifolds, and it sucks both the manifold together and the whole assembly to the head. Okay, carb's off. Got access to what we need. Here's the other fun thing. Don't forget, our exhaust is somewhat permanently mounted to this exhaust manifold because I couldn't get those bolts out. Remember, we used the flex pipe? If we can get it off, we're gonna fix that too. But first, I'm gonna put a wrench on all these and see if I can get them turning. If I can, then we'll dive underneath and disconnect the exhaust somewhere. But first, are they even gonna move? That one's moving. Okay. Okay, that one moved. Ooh, buddy. Oh, it moved. Did it move or did it just yield? It moved. It moved. Okay. Wrench on this one. Moved. Then I've had a wrench on this one because it was the one that was like grossly loose. So I know that it moves. All of them moved, which means we got to deal with the exhaust now because I think I can get this off. Somehow they're also bolted together. I think, I really don't know. What I do know is this is going to be like 65 pounds once it's off of there. There is a dowel in the front and the back, which is great. Update, exhaust is disconnected at the muffler flange, which means there's 30 inches of pipe hanging off the bottom of this, but it's the easiest spot to take it. I'm gonna work on getting this stuff off. I can't forget that this throttle rod comes up through there. I'm gonna do the hard ones first, and then I'll get to the ones that are easy to get to, and hopefully we have these manifolds on the bench. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. This thing is spun vertically now, so is this one. So that manifold will come off. It'll slide straight off. It's weird how they did it. Almost like machinists' toe clamps to hold everything in place. By my calculations, this is the only one left. This is a good example of what I'm talking about. This is the bolt, threads into the block. This little toe clamp just touches these two standoffs, and that's what snugs it in. So this big shoulder, and even most of these threads, don't go all the way into the block, which is maybe why we got lucky taking them out. It looks like the two on the ends have to come all the way off. Oh, things are starting to like fall. If I'm right, I should be able to lift everything up and out. Okay, you hear all that stuff that just fell? I need all of it. There's little rings that sit in here in the intake ports that kind of help center the intake manifold. All three of them just fell out. The good news is they shouldn't be hard to find on the floor. So let me do that before I forget. I got them. These are them. They're just like little split rings fit in these holes, and I guess it helps, I don't know if it helps hold things together, center the manifold, but they're important. I don't have more. Let me reposition. I should be able to lift this whole unit up and out. Here comes our exhaust. Oh God. Okay. Okay. All that really crunchy, terrible noise you were hearing is that flex exhaust flexing. Okay, check it out. This is the intake and exhaust side of a Stovebolt Chevrolet. Yeah, back here is where we had our blowout. All right, here it is. The combo intake and exhaust manifold. They're bolted together here in the middle. This is the exhaust like heat riser. It's supposed to have a spring in there that when it heats up, it either, I think it opens or closes to like preheat the intake manifold. We got to do a little research on that and see if we want or need it. Our biggest concern right now is getting these two bolts out. I don't really care if they break, but I want to be able to, I obviously need to connect something back to this. I'll be honest with you, these are not in very good shape. Surprise, surprise. I put a ratchet on them, they're in there. But we can't, I mean, we could leave that, but I'd really rather not have this piece of exhaust. So I think we're gonna start with a liberal application of heat. Oh my God, I didn't even try. Maybe a little capillary action. I might need more ratchet. Oh my God, it's gonna break. I feel it. So I got some movement. I have no idea if it's spun or if it's starting just to twist the head off. Bust her off. Oh yeah, where'd it break at? down in there. Okay, not totally unexpected. Still a bit of a bummer. My suspicion is this side's gonna do the exact same thing and break off. Pretty warm. I'm sure it's terrible to breathe this stuff. It's gonna break. There it goes. Well, save the flange. God, it's staying. I'm putting it outside for a minute. There's a little breeze going in here. This is the whole reason why I didn't do this on the truck when we did the exhaust. But that's all right. We got it apart. We can drill those out and either retap or, like I said, run a nut and bolt. Since we have it in the vise, we're going to go ahead and wire wheel this right now. The entire intake portion, which is boom, 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 is proud of the exhaust by quite a bit. Watch this. This is the biggest gap. This was also the one that had the worst leak. Watch. That's how much it moves. It's not as bad over here, but it's not great. What that means is we're really happy that we bought that badass gasket, because it's thick enough where I think it's going to take some of this up. I also think maybe those sealing rings help a little bit with the intake side, because it's like, it's off a bunch. It also means I don't want to take much more off of these, which I didn't really take any metal off. I just kind of polished the gasket. The other thing I think that tells us that we aren't unbolting these. They're going to be where they are, because I don't know if we could get it back together. It's these bolts here which hold everything. I think there's a very, very high likelihood they break. All right, so I got this somewhat cleaned up. Something's in here trying to like actually catch on fire. But what I'm gonna do now is come in with a cutoff wheel and I'm gonna trim these off. I know that sounds a little counterintuitive, but I wanna get them flush or maybe even a little below, so then I can try to center punch them and drill straight through. Don't care about the threads, I don't care about any of that. I just want to make holes there again. I might even use a carbide burr to kind of create a depression as like a big center punch instead of an actual center punch. Now I can at least see where the holes are. Not sure that worked the way I want it to. But I got little starter divots, and now I'm thinking I might try to just drill these out. More speed. It's never the answer in steel, but here we go. Oh, I switched her to hammer mode. All right, welcome back. It's a different day. We're back on the manifold. We're gonna try to get everything assembled today. Here's what I've done in the background. We have a brand new heat riser spring, which I'm pretty sure I installed correctly. We'll see. I also was able to drill these out, and I put some studs in here, and then this flange I bought. It's just sitting here for now, but that's gonna be how we adjust our, or how we build our exhaust. Next thing I wanna do is deal with this kind of barb fitting. This was vacuum to the brake booster, which we are not using. So I'm gonna take this out and see if I have a plug that'll just go in there, and we'll just kind of delete that. I'm hoping this is pipe thread. Looks like pipe to me. All right, so I found a plug. It's real racy too. This is actually out of the old fuel pump from the Roadrunner, but we don't need it for that anymore, so it'll work great in here and do away with that potential vacuum leak. Okay, I'm gonna start by putting these little sealing rings in the exhaust or intake ports. There's a little shoulder in there that they kind of stop against. Then I think we'll lay our, I wish this was not here. But anyways, we'll kind of lay our gasket on there, and then we can't forget about this, which is the throttle rod, basically. Brap, brap, see? But this has to come up through the runners, basically. So it's gonna be a little bit of a three-hand dance, I think, getting this all on there. Remember, we need to be careful because our gasket is fragile. That's what makes it good. And then we'll lift the manifold up. It hangs on these dowels, which should help us kind of support it. All right, here's the star of the show. That lines up good. Try to get this thing in there. without hurting anything. There we go. Put on the dowels. And then to hold it, I'm going to try to put at least one of these long ones in. I need to spin the bolt without spinning the toe clamp piece, which is proving to be challenging. Let me see if I can't at least get the back going in there. I just think it's hitting on those ceiling rings and it doesn't want to suck down all the way yet. That's in there loosely. I'm going to come in and put the 4 middle ones in, which are hard. And then my thought is, my hope is as I start cranking down on it, it'll kind of pull into those rings. I think it's working. I don't see any big major gaps or nothing. We'll just go around until they get evenly tight. All right, well, this thing is back together and would start and run right now. The only problem is it is open header. So that is what we're going to address now. We need to build a little bit more exhaust to come from right here back to our muffler. Here's what I'm thinking for exhaust. I haven't taken any measurements yet, but basically out of that flange right off the header can be a straight piece, and it's going to come down something like this. Then we're going to need to start to flatten that bend to go underneath the truck, and I think we're going to do it with this 45. And then out of this 45, we're going to start heading towards the muffler. Now, so I want a flex section somewhere in this piece so it's not solid matter. We need a little bit of vibration dampening. Even though the old straight six, she runs like a sewing machine, it's still nice to have a little give somewhere. I usually buy those bellows style flex sections. They're like this long. I don't have one. So what we're going to do is use a piece of our corrugated dryer vent tube in place of that. It'll be fine. We'll just have a little piece, not a great big piece. Okay, so I think we're going to start with what I'm going to call the down pipe. I want to get it slid up into this flange and kind of positioned in such a way that I can see where it's going to end up. And then we'll mark it and probably tack this. It's way long right now, obviously, but this is going to be our starting point. It has to. Okay, so I'll show you what I'm thinking. See this line here? That is how far this pipe actually slides into the manifold. I don't want to go that far because if this sticks in too far, it's going to interfere with the heat riser flapper and not allow it to move. But I do want to go a little bit. So now I know how much we have. I want this pipe to slip into the manifold a little bit. That's going to help seal because it's not going to want to leak backwards. And that flange, it's okay, but it's not the most flat. And I think anything we could do to help minimize exhaust leaks is going to be good. Because this pipe is round, obviously, it doesn't matter what orientation this flange is in. So I think we're going to pick a happy spot and we'll tack this. That way we can stick it up in there and bolt it. And we'll end up cutting this off because it's way too long right now. So I've got this set up the way I want it. Maybe a ½ inch of stick out or of engagement into the manifold. That'll be fine. I also have the flange at a little bit of an angle on the pipe, and that's on purpose. I want to go ahead and start that rear sweep as early as we can, and that's going to make this straight tube angle back a bit, which I think is going to help us. That'll work for now. All right, so we're underneath now. This is our pipe coming down, loosely bolted to the flange. You can see it's plenty long. Everything looks good up here. It's clearing everything it needs to clear. Somewhere in this region, we're gonna make a cut, and then we need to start bending and coming back towards where you guys are right now. Now, the run isn't really that long. Let me mark this about level with the pan, I guess, and then we'll cut it, and we'll figure out how to get from here back to my left shoulder, which is currently pinned against the muffler. So here's what I'm thinking now. This is our cut pipe. I don't think we cut it far enough because what I want to do is trim it up here and run this 90 out of it, which is going to get us our bend back towards the muffler, which will end up being about this cross member here. And then from that cross member, we just got to get to here, and we're going to do that with our flex section. So this is what we got. Header flange down to this 90. We're going to tack right here. This bends up under the cross member. This is the old chunk of flex pipe. We're going to slide this on down to this line, and everything should bolt up. This will act as our stress relief. This will be hanging off the manifold. We only have 3 welds to do. it should come together pretty quick. So I'm going to tack. I'll probably tack the flex pipe on, one final test fit, and then we'll finish weld all this. Now, if I remember right, this stuff welds like absolute garbage. Yeah. Good enough for a test fit. Whoa. All right, one more test fit and then we'll finish all this stuff. Test fit went well, looks like it's gonna work. This flexi piece helps a lot. You don't even have to be close. So I'm gonna burn all this in and we'll install it with gaskets for real. Exhaust is back on, everything's back together. We're ready to push this thing outside and touch it off and see if what we did made any difference at all. Remember, we adjusted the valves, brand new spark plugs, brand new intake and exhaust manifold gasket, although they're the same thing. And the rest of the exhaust, we finished that, right? I'm excited, it's gotta be better. So I'm gonna roll it out just to get the exhaust out of the garage. We'll start it up and we will see what it sounds like. Need to go far. Just want to go a little bit. Come on, big girl. Let's go. All right, I think, oh, I got to connect the battery. Choke. Neutral. Here we go. Oh my gosh. Started right up. I can already tell the leak sounds better too. Let me let it warm up a bit and we'll walk around the front and see if we can hear anything. But that's idle right now, about half choke. I'm gonna try to turn the choke all the way off. Yep. Is it gonna do it? I think it might. All right. It sounds so much better. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but last time back here, you could actually feel the air pulsing out. There's nothing this time. It's probably gonna smoke a bit. We've had our hands all over this thing. It's gonna burn off our oil and stuff. I think what we're gonna do, let it sit here and get warm. I can hear the valve train working. Isn't necessarily a bad thing. Give it a touch of rocker, that's kind of fun. I wonder if I could see if it's oiling. Oh yeah, I see oil dribbling out. Or at least the number one intake. That's all I can really see. I haven't checked the oil in this thing since we changed it. It definitely likes the new plugs. It's never started and fallen into an idle quite that quick. I almost forgot. The other thing I wanted to check was if our heat risers work. Spring that holds it in the closed position, and as throttle and airspeed increases, that should open. So I'm gonna give her a few wraps. Watch right here and see if that moves. Looks like it's working to me. It even sounds better out here. No real smoke to speak of. And the pipe's a little sooty, but not a big deal. I almost forgot. I got one more surprise to show you guys. All right, walk right here. Look at that. Doesn't that look a million times better than it did? Now, full disclosure, I've got LEDs coming, but I was able to modify an 1157 bulb by grinding off one of the little keeper nubs and get them into factory sockets. And it looks amazing. Check this out. Boom! We even got headlights. I still don't know why the marker lights go off when the headlights go on. That might be factory. And the other problem I have is I don't know if these are high or low beams, but when I switch, I go blind in one eye. But that's a problem for another day. So I'm gonna just act like that's normal. I'm sure it's something to do with the wires on this terminal block up here. We'll address it later. But for now, my dad used to call your parking lights your cool lights. And it was ingrained in me from a very young child. You never go anywhere without your cool lights on.
Now Stink Bug has it set. Look at that. Perfect for Halloween. I think that's going to do it for this episode of TYGR's Garage. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for making it this far. Stink Bug has headlights. Stink Bug has parking lots, tail lights, brand new manifold gasket, brand new heat riser spring, brand new plugs. What else? Lots of stuff. Basically, you got the old tune-up. Next time, we are moving on to a couple things that really still need addressing. One of those being the hood and hood hinges. The other one being, it still has water in it. It's about to get pretty cold here, so I've got brand new upper and lower radiator hoses. We're gonna throw those in and put actual coolant back in this thing. We will see you guys next time.